Plateau is normal. In fact, it's predictable. Over 9 million people stream globally, a massive percentage average under 10 concurrent viewers. Only a small fraction ever pass 100. Even fewer break 1,000. The majority don't fail. They stall. Not because they lack talent, not because the algorithm is against them, but because their improvement is random instead of systematic. They stream longer instead of refining retention. They change games instead of improving structure. They chase trends instead of measuring engagement patterns. Growth at scale is rarely explosive. It's incremental and compounding. That's where the 1% rule comes in. If you improve retention by 1%, improve click-through rate by 1%, improve engagement timing by 1%, improve scheduling efficiency by 1%, those marginal gains stack. Over months, they separate the plateaued majority from the progressing minority. AI and structured systems make that 1% visible. They show minute-by-minute drop-offs, emotional tone shifts, engagement spikes, distribution timing impact. Instead of guessing what to improve, you identify the exact friction points holding growth back. Systematic improvement compounds. Random effort stagnates. Today isn't about working harder, it's about optimizing smarter. Let's talk about the 1% rule. Number 1, growth slows because improvement slows. When you first start streaming, improvement happens almost automatically. You get more comfortable on camera, you learn how to manage chat, you upgrade your microphone, you fix lighting. Those early gains are obvious, and early growth often reflects those beginners' improvements. But after 3 to 6 months, something changes. Progress flattens, viewer counts stabilize, engagement stops accelerating. Why? Because most creators stop measuring improvement. Once the basics are handled, growth no longer comes from obvious upgrades. It comes from refinement. If your stream today looks almost identical to how it looked 90 days ago, same pacing, same intro length, same energy curve, your results will likely mirror that consistency. AI performance tools shift you from instinct to insight. They analyze pacing gaps, engagement spikes, retention drop-offs, dead air frequency, and reaction timing. They show you where attention fades and where it peaks. Without measurement, you guess what to change. With measurement, you adjust precisely. The 1% rule means identifying one small variable, intro length, question timing, transition clarity, and improving it consistently. Small refinements compound, and compounding separates plateau from progress. Number 2. Most streamers optimize the wrong metric. Viewer count is the loudest number on your screen, but it's not the most important. Retention is. Concurrent viewers fluctuate constantly. They rise and fall with raids, time zones, and random browsing behavior. Retention measures something deeper, how long people choose to stay once they arrive. That's the real signal of value. If your average viewer stays 4 minutes, growth will be slow no matter how many clicks you generate. If you increase that to 7 minutes, algorithm exposure can rise dramatically. That's nearly a 75% improvement in engagement duration. Platforms prioritize session depth because it signals relevance and quality. AI retention analytics can break this down with precision. They show exact timestamps where viewers leave in clusters. Maybe your intro runs too long before meaningful action begins. Maybe gameplay starts late. Maybe your energy dips mid-session during menu navigation. Small drop points compound just like small gains. Tightening an intro by 60 seconds, smoothing transitions, raising energy during predictable dips. These micro adjustments increase average watch time across every stream. Fixing retention leaks builds consistent growth. Chasing viral spikes creates temporary noise. Long-term growth is engineered through refinement, not randomness. Number 3. Content without distribution is invisible. Streaming alone is rarely enough anymore. Many small creators rely entirely on live discovery, hoping people browse into their stream at the right moment. But modern platforms heavily favor short-form content for discovery. Clips, vertical videos, and bite-sized highlights drive the majority of new audience exposure. Live streams build depth. short form builds reach. If you stream 16 hours per week and produce zero additional content, your discoverability ceiling is low. You're visible only while you're alive. The moment you log off, exposure pauses. AI clipping tools change that equation. One stream can become 5 short form clips optimized for vertical platforms, one structured highlight compilation, multiple captioned segments tailored for different audiences. If even one clip gains traction each week, that momentum compounds. A few hundred new viewers here, a few thousand impressions there. Over months, consistent distribution outperforms occasional viral spikes. Distribution multiplies effort. Without distribution, you're trading time for visibility. With it, your content works for you continuously. And when content keeps working, growth stops plateauing and starts compounding. Number 4, energy inconsistency hurts more than skill gaps. Viewers don't leave on only because gameplay is weak. They leave when energy shifts. After 2 to 3 hours, fatigue naturally sets in. Speech slows slightly, reactions lose sharpness, commentary becomes more repetitive. The changes are subtle, but audiences feel them. Engagement dips often correlate more with energy decline than with gameplay quality itself. AI, voice, and pacing analysis tools can track these patterns across sessions. They can measure speech tempo, tone variability, response latency, and chat engagement curves over time. If the data consistently shows that engagement peaks during your first 90 minutes and declines afterward, that's not a motivation problem. It's a structural problem. Instead of pushing longer hours, you adjust format, shorten sessions, split streams, front-load high-intensity segments, protect peak performance windows, higher quality beats longer duration. Plateau often comes from overextension, trying to squeeze growth out of hours where performance has already declined. Sustainable growth comes from optimizing peak output, not maximizing exhaustion. Number 5, brand clarity affects retention. Many streamers rotate through multiple games without a defined positioning strategy. Variety feels flexible. It feels creative. But without structure, it often weakens identity. Viewers don't just return for gameplay, they return predictability and value. They want to know what they're getting when they click your stream. Is it a high-level strategy? Competitive intensity? Comedy commentary? Chill late-night vibes? When content direction shifts constantly without a clear anchor, return rates suffer. Not because the content is bad, but because identity is unclear. AI analytics can surface this directly. It can track which categories produce the highest return rate, longest retention, and strongest chat engagement. If 70% of your returning viewers consistently engage during strategy breakdown segments, that's not random. That's positioning data. Strong identity builds stable growth because it creates expectation. Expectation builds habit. Habit builds loyalty. Random direction creates confusion. Confusion reduces return visits. Plateau often isn't about effort. It hides behind unclear branding. Clarity compounds. Number 6, community depth matters more than size. A creator with 80 highly engaged viewers can grow faster than one with 300 passive viewers. Why? Because algorithms don't just measure presence. They measure activity. Watch time, chat velocity, interaction depth, return frequency. These are confident signals. When viewers participate, platforms interpret that as value. AI community tracking tools can quantify this clearly. They can measure participation frequency per session, percentage of returning viewers, average chat contributions per user, and interaction depth across polls, predictions, or community prompts. If 40% of your viewers actively chat or interact, that's a strong engagement ratio. That signals community cohesion. If only 5% engage while the rest watch silently and leave quickly, growth often slows, even if raw concurrent numbers look higher. Improving engagement percentage is frequently more impactful than chasing higher viewer counts. Increasing active participation from 10% to 25% can shift algorithmic exposure more than adding 50 passive viewers. Depth builds momentum. Momentum builds recommendation. And recommendation builds scale. Number 7. Feedback without structure is noise. Most creators ask, what should I improve? But that question is too broad. Vague feedback leads to vague changes. Be more entertaining, talk more, play better. None of that tells you where to adjust or how to measure progress. AI feedback analysis changes the framing. Instead of reading comments individually and guessing what matters, systems can categorize viewer feedback into recurring themes over time: pacing, audio clarity, camera framing, energy consistency, game selection, explanation depth. If repeated suggestions cluster around pacing issues or unclear explanations, that becomes actionable. If multiple viewers across weeks mention audio balance, that's no longer random noise, it's a pattern. Without structure, feedback feels overwhelming and emotional. Every comment feels urgent. Every critique feels personal. With structure, feedback becomes data. Patterns replace guesswork. Priorities become visible. Targeted improvement compounds. When you fix the variables that consistently surface, rather than randomly changing elements each week, you break plateaus systematically. Clarity turns criticism into leverage. Number 8. Burnout quietly causes stagnation. After months of grinding, motivation naturally dips. What once felt exciting starts to feel routine. Energy becomes harder to sustain. And even if you try to mask it, viewers often sense subtle shifts in enthusiasm. Performance psychology consistently shows that authenticity influences retention. Audiences don't just respond to what you say, they respond to how you say it. Tone variability, pacing, emotional presence, and genuine engagement all shape how long people stay. AI energy tracking systems can analyze session-to-session changes in vocal dynamics, speech tempo, reaction intensity, and engagement curves. If emotional output steadily declines over weeks, that's a signal. Not a failure, of fatigue. Sometimes the plateau isn't algorithmic. It isn't branding. It isn't content quality. It's exhaustion disguised as stagnation. In those cases, the solution isn't pushing harder. It's adjusting structure, shorter session, different time slots, format variation, strategic breaks. Energy management affects growth more than most creators realize, because sustainable enthusiasm compounds and forced output eventually shows. Number 9. Smart experimentation beats random experimentation. Many creators experiment constantly, new overlays, new games, new formats. Experimentation is healthy, but when it's done blindly, it becomes noise. If you change 5 variables at once and growth shifts, you won't know why. If nothing changes, you won't know what failed. Without measurement, experimentation turns into guessing. AI experiment tracking introduces structure. It can compare performance metrics before and after format adjustments, retention curves, chat velocity, participation rates, return frequency, average watch time. If engagement rises 20% during interactive segments compared to passive gameplay blocks, that's not a feeling, that's data. Controlled testing accelerates learning because you isolate variables. You test one change, measure impact, adjust again. Random testing burns time and energy. Structured testing compounds insight. Plateaus often persist not because creators stop trying, but because they try without tracking. When experiments become measurable, improvement becomes predictable, and predictable improvement breaks plateaus. Number 10, the 1% rule. Compounds improving retention by 5%, improving energy consistency by 5%, improving clip output by 10%, improving engagement depth by 8%. Now, on their own, those numbers feel small, almost forgettable. They don't look like breakthrough moments. They don't feel like viral spikes. But growth rarely explodes, it compounds. When small improvements stack across multiple systems, content, delivery, distribution, community, they multiply each other. A 5% retention gain increases watch time. Increased watch time improves recommendation exposure. Better exposure gives clips more chances to perform. Stronger clips bring in higher quality viewers. Higher quality viewers engage more deeply. Now, the gains aren't isolated. They're interconnected. AI doesn't magically make you bigger, doesn't replace creativity or personality. It gives you measurement, it reveals friction points, it helps you improve intentionally instead of randomly. Most creators plateau because improvement becomes passive. They keep streaming but stop refining. 1% rule is simple. Small gains, consistently applied, with structure behind them. That's how ceilings move. Plateau is not failure. It's a signal. A signal that random growth has ended. And intentional growth must begin. Early progress often comes from momentum and novelty. But once that wave settles, what remains is structure, measurement, refinement, systems. The creators who measure, adjust, and optimize break through ceilings. They don't guess, they test, they track, they refine small variables repeatedly until progress compounds. The ones who rely only on effort eventually stall, not because they lack talent, but because effort without direction has limits. AI is not a shortcut, it's clarity. It shows you where attention drops, where energy shifts, where engagement peaks. It turns instinct into data, and data into leverage. If you want to grow past your current ceiling, instead of staring at it, subscribe and stay in the shadows.